Okay, welcome back to CHRYSALIS, the Family Adventures, our weekly podcast on the Stivic family and the trials and tribulations they face living in the 2020s in America. Today we take a turn to a different tone as the hearing for the trial of the bad officer who assaulted Kamala and Samantha begins. Episode 54. The hearing begins. Kamala speaks out. In the courtroom, the hearing begins. Samantha expresses to Judge Carmichael her nervousness and fear about testifying, highlighting the emotional toll of the legal process. In this episode of Chrysalis the Family Adventures, Samantha and Kamala prepare to attend a pivotal court hearing involving allegations against LAPD officer Justin Bradock. Fictional. The courtroom drama unfolds as Judge Carmichael presides over a tense situation, focusing on Samantha's ability to testify despite her trauma and PTSD resulting from a prior incident, which is that incident. Both sides present compelling opening statements, with defense attorney Stern questioning the validity of the charges due to lack of documented evidence, while prosecutor Watkins highlights suspicious gaps in body cam footage and the plaintiff's medical records as clear evidence of Bradock's wrongdoing. Kamala takes the stand and recounts the chaotic events at a Black Lives Matter protest where she and Samantha were arrested amidst turmoil caused by the rioters and conflicting police actions. Kamala describes their fear and confusion during the arrest, the inappropriate conduct during the pat-down, and the emotional aftermath. The judge emphasizes the importance of factual testimony while cautioning against speculation on motives such as racism and sexism. The scene closes with Kamala describing Officer Bradock as grabbing the two girls and taking them away. Okay, so let's hear episode 54. The hearing begins. Kamala speaks out. Fade in. Voiceover. Previously on Chrysalis, the family adventures. Internal, the house. Living room, dining area, day. Samantha and Kamala are on their way out, carrying pre-packed food. Joey. Hey, where are you running off to? Samantha. Oh, today's the hearing, Dad. Caption. And now, continuing on in and out of the cocoon. Theme music / display. Internal. Courthouse. Courtroom 802. A bit later. Bailiff. Court 802 is now in session. The People versus LA police officer Justin Braddock. Samantha shows clear panic. Kamala holds her arm lovingly. Bailiff. All rise for the Honorable Lola Carmichael presiding. They stand up along with everyone else in the gallery, including Officer Bradock, the superior officer who rescued them, and the second officer who had slapped handcuffs on Samantha and brought her in that fateful day. Judge Carmichael steps up to the bench, looks around at the gallery, and sits down. Caption: The family adventure continues. Carmichael: Please be seated. Bangs gavel down lightly. She looks at Samantha, who looks really afraid. Carmichael: Young lady, are you all right? There is an uncomfortable pause. Samantha, really petrified, self-pointing. Me? Yeah, I'm Carmichael. Are you sure you'll be able to keep it together to testify? Kamala squeezes her arm as Watkins, rising. Your Honor, I have prepped the two plaintiffs. They will be fine. Kamala, almost simultaneously, whispers, Don't worry, baby. I'm here. I got you. Carmichael, focused on Samantha. Please approach the bench. Ms. looks at something on her desk. Kamala and Samantha unsynchronous. Stivic. Stivic. Carmichael, thank you. Samantha arises out of her seat and approaches. All of the dialogue between these two is very soft and audible only to them. Carmichael, soft. I'm going to ask you to do something right now, and that's look me in the eye. Samantha is really confused and fearfully worried as she looks at Carmichael like any authority figure. Carmichael. No, look straight at my pupils. Samantha looks at her more intently, still unsure. Carmichael. Now don't take your eyes off mine till we finish. Can you do that? Samantha, shaky. Yeah, I guess. But why? Carmichael. A person's eyes directed right at you reveals their level of truthfulness. It can make a difference in the verdict. A dishonest person almost always looks away most of the time, or if I confront them directly, they'll look at me, but their eyes will be all over the place. I don't want a jury to get the wrong idea about you. When you look straight into the eyes of the person you're addressing, it looks better to a jury and can make a big difference in the verdict. I understand you have PTSD, which allegedly resulted from the trauma this incident caused. Miss Stivic, please stay focused on my eyes. I know this is not easy. Samantha, I'm sorry, it's just. Carmichael looks very concerned at her. Samantha, I just can't face him. Carmichael, do you not want to testify? Samantha, this is so cringe. Carmichael, excuse me? Cringe? Samantha looks really embarrassed and ashamed. Carmichael, I can excuse you. You don't have to testify. I know that PTSD can be terrifying at any time, so I can get why being in the presence of the man you believe raped you can be such a number. Samantha suddenly picking head up and looking her straight in the eye. I believe it because it happened, and my PTSD is not alleged. It happened because of this incident. I was never like this before. Carmichael, I can see that. And the way you spoke to me just now was with a calm and confident demeanor. The fact that you were looking straight at me enabled you to both focus on every word I was saying and respond in a way that will impress a jury. Samantha, my therapist also said my illness is from the assault. Carmichael, okay, we can call him to testify at trial. Samantha, he definitely said he would. Carmichael, good. But for now, I want you to try to keep this calm and confident demeanor you're showing me when you're asked to testify. Samantha, okay, I'll try, but losing hope. I still hate having to go through all this and missing school. Carmichael, I understand your feelings. Since you're not on trial, you're not compelled to testify. Were you with your partner at all times when this occurred? Samantha, trepidatiously. Yes. Carmichael, I'm willing to excuse you from trial if you need to take that time for your studies and also to take care of yourself. Samantha, no, I want to be here. Carmichael, okay then. But you should know your testimony today will be on record and can be used at trial. We can have it recorded so you don't have to come back. Samantha, no, that's okay. Dr. Moorfield said it's better if both of us testify. I don't want to put undue burden on my girlfriend. Carmichael, I admire your courage and sense of responsibility to your partner, and sometimes we have to face something really unpleasant to get justice. But I also don't want you missing school. It means you're going to have to work extra hard to catch up, including nights and weekends. An uncomfortable silence sits or hangs as Samantha looks downward, partly dejected, partly appreciative, partly overwhelmed. Carmichael, I know you're up against people who know the system and how to play it. You've got a big handicap in that respect. So I called you up to help you with an exercise that works because I think it's right to even things out a little. That's why it was important to do this exercise. Samantha, yeah, but I still wish he would just admit what he did so I don't have to go through this over and over and miss more school. Carmichael, I appreciate your honesty and sincerity. Try not to worry about everything. It'll all work out somehow. For now, while we're in session, just address everyone directly and answer the questions truthfully. You'll do fine. Okay? Samantha nods, smiling. Sure. Thanks, Doc. Catches herself embarrassed. I mean, Your Honor. Carmichael, laughing quickly. Well, okay then. You may return to your seat. looking at paper on desk, also embarrassed but smiling. Samantha. The mood lightened. Samantha returns to her seat, nervous, but still a lot more upbeat. Carmichael, smiling, back to normal judge voice. Okay, let's proceed then. The plaintiffs, both minors, allege that Officer Bradock sexually molested them and raped them with a nightstick. Miss Stern, your client has pleaded not guilty due to an unexplained gap in body cam footage that occurred when the alleged incident was taking place. We will have to rely on testimony. This hearing was delayed because one of the plaintiffs, Ms. Samantha Stivic, was hospitalized for the duration and was only very recently released. Counselors, before we begin to call the witnesses, do either of you wish to add an opening statement? Watkins seemed confident and nods no, while a very sharply business-attired woman in her 50s, Stern looks hesitantly, then Stern. Yes, Your Honor. Gets up, speaks very direct and clearly. We are presented with a charge that is very serious and cannot be taken lightly. However, upon searching the police records dating back to the date of the charge, August 2nd, 2020, the date of the Black Lives Matter demonstration, which the police video cam is from, there is no record of the incident charged by the complainants, including in the file of the defendant, Officer Bradock. And while testimony has its place in a court of law, the hope that the complainants will state only the truth, no matter how believable their testimony is just that, a hope. A hope in a world of ever-increasing dishonesty and deception. And this is what children and teenagers are learning. Thus, to take their testimony at face value without thoroughly investigating and substantiating is both naive and sloppy legal practice. The onus in every court case rests solely with the prosecution to present evidence convincing enough to warrant putting a man with no documentation of wrongdoing behind bars. In fact, documentation shows that Officer Bradock is a family man, loved by his wife and 2 children, who has been praised officially and many times by LAPD for excellent work. Hence, these charges do not hold up to the careful scrutiny that justice requires, and unless our complainants can produce irrefutable proof, this case cannot be taken seriously, Your Honor. Thank you. Carmichael, looking toward Watkins. Counselor, you sure you don't wish to make an opening statement? Watkins, rising and standing. Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Stern, you are absolutely right, that we are presented with a serious charge that cannot and should not be taken lightly. We have body cam footage which is corroborated by the statement submitted by both plaintiffs, which mysteriously cuts off right at the moment Officer Bradock led the 2 girls into a room where he was alone with them. That thought should give anyone pause for thought. That alone should give anyone pause for thought. Why would it cut off at precisely the moment Officer Bradock brought 2 minors of the opposite sex into a room where he was alone with them? This is the last thing that occurs before the video mysteriously cuts off and is itself a violation of police protocol. The horrendous assault that these 2 young ladies state occurred is alleged by them to have happened precisely during this lapse in recording. Why does it happen at precisely this moment and not some other? Moreover, that the defendant, an officer charged with upholding and enforcing the law, violated the statutory requirement that an officer of the same gender as anyone who is being held always be present, lends further credibility to the charge. Further, as can be clearly seen in the eyes of one of the plaintiffs, she enters this room with her accused abuser for the first time since the incident, clearly in sheer terror. You have also stated, Your Honor, that she was hospitalized for a long time after the incident. The diagnosis she presents with, both evidentially and in medical records, is one of PTSD, a disorder that occurs most often in people suddenly confronted with violence and a history of being underexposed to it. Having viewed and reviewed the body cam, it is clear that nothing apparently happened to Miss Stivic that was caught on camera that would suddenly induce PTSD in an otherwise healthy person. Clearly something happened to her in the room, and I am confident that in questioning everybody who was present in the room that day, it will become clear that the alleged abuses of these two girls really did occur, beginning with their somehow mysteriously being taken away from the larger group of people who were likewise arrested and held at that time, and led privately, defenseless, into a separate room from the others, had a clearly busy time for the department when isolation with no prior arrest begs the question of why Officer Bradock took this action, which itself is a violation of police protocol and should have been documented by the department. Your Honor, Carmichael, you have both presented very impressive and thorough arguments. This will not be an easy case for either of you. That the video cut off at the moment of the alleged incident, makes this problematic for both parties. In a case lacking clearly presented evidence in which two sides are adamant about an allegation for which there is no visual proof, we are totally dependent on the testimony of everyone who was present there at the time, as well as potential character and expert witnesses. Luke, do you wish to call your first witness? Watkins. Thank you, Your Honor. I'd like to call Kamala Jackson. Bailiff. Kamala Jackson, please come to the witness stand. Kamala gets up. It's Kamala. Kamala is the Hindu goddess of fertility. I was named after Kamala, the African warrior for justice, because I am a warrior for justice. Carmichael changed from serious to smiling. That's quite an impressive piece of knowledge. Please proceed. Kamala moves toward the stand and takes her place. Ms. Jackson, a bailiff, bailiff says, Ms. Jackson, do you affirm before this court that your words will be truthful and contain the whole truth and nothing but the truth? Kamala, I do. Carmichael, are you aware that omission or willful misrepresentation of any relevant facts constitutes perjury and will result in penalties? Kamala, yes, I do, Your Honor. Carmichael, smiling. You may proceed. Watkins. Ms. Jackson, do you affirm the stated charges of assault and rape of your person, as well as that of your partner, Samantha Stivic, are true? Kamala. I do. Watkins. Ms. Jackson, according to your written statement, you and Ms. Stivic had been handcuffed at a Black Lives Matter demonstration and led into the room where the alleged incident occurred, which the body camera footage available confirms up until you entered the room with the officer, at which point it is lost to record. Tell me what actually happened in the room after you both found yourselves alone with Officer Bradock. Kamala. We were frightened and out of our wits finding ourselves alone with this man. Watkins. Can you tell the court what about this man was so frightening? Kamala. We first encountered Officer Bradock when he and other officers moved in on us after some rioters who were not part of BLM infiltrated our demonstration, which had been peaceful until then. The rioters were throwing hard objects at storefronts and breaking windows. You see, we had been marching and protesting the mistreatment and murder of innocent black people by the police. We were very fired up and enthusiastic, but there was no trouble. But suddenly Samantha got upset when she noticed these men, who seemed mostly white, throwing rocks or bottles at store windows and marching and chanting slogans that were out of sync with those of the main group. Watkins. Do you remember specifically what they were chanting? Kamala. No, it was very chaotic. But you could see they looked scary and certainly not in the spirit of Black Lives Matter. That's when the cops started to move in on us, which made me obviously more afraid. And I wanted us to leave at that point, even if it was contrary to the spirit of standing our ground against racism and racial violence, race-based violence. Watkins. It didn't occur to you that if these men were violent, the police might be trying to protect you? Kamala. I understand that, and that's how they set this up. First, they set the bad guys loose to do their dirty work. Stern on her feet. Objection! Carmichael banging gavel forcefully. Miss Jackson, Kamala, uninterrupted. Then they send the cops to bust up Carmichael. Please. Kamala, uninterrupted. The protest. So we can't do the work we need to do to bring these perpetual injustices to the public's attention. Carmichael, banging gavel again. Miss Jackson, this is a court of law. I need to explain a few things to you. Kamala, I know, don't talk after you bang the gavel. Carmichael, it's great that you know that, but it's not going to work unless you follow through on what you know. You're very intelligent, but this is not the time and place for analysis or pointing out of the injustices that abound in society. In court, you're obligated to stick only to facts on the ground, that's which you know for sure. We're here for one purpose only, and that's to determine whether or not the assault you and your partner have charged Officer Bradock with did in fact occur. Luke, please keep your questions pointed toward this. Watkins, so you felt very vulnerable at that moment. Kamala, well, I don't know about vulnerable, but now that you put it that way, it's clear that we could not rely on. We did not feel we could rely on the cops to protect us. And as a black person, I specifically felt vulnerable that they might interpret the misconduct of the men up the street as a sign to attack us, since one, we were protesting police abuse, and two, since many of us were black. Watkins, I understand your feelings. Go on. What happened then? Kamala, it got even more chaotic at that point, and it got to where we couldn't see who were the rioters and who were the true BLM protesters who were peaceful. And the police moved in, and everything got really out of control. Watkins, in what way? Kamala, well, for one thing, they were closing in on us, and Samantha and other people got angry and yelled at them to leave us alone. I kept trying to tell Samantha not to mess with them and to get back, but either she could not hear me or she was so worked up with anger that she just went ahead and challenging them. They were also very disrespectful, I'm sorry to say, just ignoring, not talking to us, or, ew, but at us, not respecting our bodies or our space for that matter. Our basic right to protest. It was very confrontational. Watkins, were there any blows or violence at that point other than the rioting and looting by infiltrators you spoke about? Did anybody get hurt? Kamala, no. Well, with the exception of the police spraying nerve gas at us. Watkins, I see. Did you challenge them about that? Or did you just try to get Samantha and go? Kamala, as I said, all I was concerned about was getting Samantha and getting out of there. I was really scared. I was actually supporting the cops. It was other people, including Samantha, who challenged them. Watkins, when you say you were supporting the cops, do you mean in their effort to evacuate the area by getting Samantha and leaving? Kamala, yes, but in the chaos, it was impossible to get her attention. Plus, the way she was worked up, she wasn't going nowhere. Watkins, I see, and I'm sorry. You said before Samantha yelled at the cops. Do you remember specifically what she was yelling at them? Kamala, I remember she said they didn't have the right to treat us the way they were treating us. Watkins, you mean to spray the gas? Kamala, and to move in on us and tell us to leave. It felt like they were using their bodies and armor to box us in and make us uncomfortable. And it had gotten so chaotic and crazy that we got separated and she couldn't hear me. I mean, she said all the right things that I was feeling too, but I was just scared and trying to be practical. Watkins, how soon after that were you cuffed? Kamala, oh, you're going to love this. Stern shows great displeasure on her face. Bradock shows no emotion. Kamala, it was right after Samantha darted ahead of the crowd toward the officers and yelled really loud at them to stop. I reached forward and grabbed her to pull her back, but Officer Bradock was alarmed by her yelling, and when he turned to see what was happening, he saw me pulling her back and assumed I was the aggressor because she is smaller than me. And yes, white. Watkins, did he state that to you? Kamala, no. Samantha got even more incensed, seeing me unjustly arrested and screaming he had no right to arrest me. That's when Officer Braddock told his partner to cuff her. So you see, there was no questioning first of why I grabbed her arm, just the assumption that I was the aggressor. He said, "Hey, what do you think you're doing?" and slapped the cuffs on me. Watkins: "Did he give you any reason for cuffing you?" Stern, surprising everyone: "Objection. This is not a requirement upon arrest until the suspect is being held." Kamala: "I was being held." Carmichael: "Overruled." Bangs gavel. "Miss Jackson, please do not talk after one of the counsels objects." Miss Stern: "The issue is not whether he violated protocol, but it is fair to ask at trial or hearing if this witness was given a reason for the arrest." Proceed, please. Miss Jackson: "Were you given a reason?" Kamala: "No, I wasn't. But it's clear gender and race was a factor." Watkins: "Miss Jackson, there were many black people as well as women there." Kamala: "True. And I understand he saw me grab her to get her out of danger without knowing that. And I'm sure his first impression was that I was really attacking her. And that was what made her yell so loud when she got his attention. But it still seemed unprofessional to me not to scope the situation first and ask us what was going on before, deciding I had to be the bad one, the one who was doing the most to cooperate. I mean, she had been yelling along with other people all along, so he had to know her yelling might not have had anything to do with the fact that I grabbed her arm. And I didn't even grab her until after she yelled really loud. I mean, she was out there by herself confronting the officers, and that really scared me." Watkins: "What did you do after he had you in cuffs?" Kamala: "You mean besides being even more frightened out of my wits? Like I said, I was trying to be cool and just protect Samantha at that moment. Afterward, I guess I kind of withdrew because my worst fear was coming true. And Samantha, of course, got—" Watkins: "I'm sorry, Miss Jackson. Do you mean your fear of being arrested?" Kamala: "No, my fear that the same thing would befall me that happens to so many other black people, especially youth, that I would be killed by one." And Samantha, seeing this, became even more indignant and yelled even louder right at him. That's when he told his partner to arrest her, which he did. Watkins: "You mean Officer Stanhope?" Kamala, pointing to second officer: "I think he was the one who arrested Samantha after Bradock told him to." Watkins: "That's Officer Jake Stanhope." Kamala: "Oh, they didn't identify themselves at all to us, just barked off orders. See, this is how confrontations develop. And then when we get upset, they get scared and pull a gun on us. And you know how that happens." Watkins: "All right, but let's get back to the situation. So Officer Stanhope cuffed Samantha at that point." Kamala: "Yes. But she really lashed out at him, even kicking him. It's obvious she'd never been confronted by a police officer before. Like, George Floyd was practically pleading with them, begging them to go easy on him." Watkins: "All right, I get it. So then what happened?" Kamala: "Well, they led us into the station." Watkins: "You mean Officers Bradock and Stanhope?" Kamala: "Yes. They pinned each of us to the wall and started feeling us up and down, though they would probably say they patted us down. But it was sexually inappropriate." Watkins: "How long did this feeling up go on for?" Kamala: "Not long, actually. I mean, I'd never been patted down, but I knew that was not patting down. The whole experience was humiliating, and on top of that, they were talking snide and demeaning comments. Samantha put up a fight, and other officers were bringing in other protesters who didn't want to leave the scene. It was horrible and really scary. I'd never been arrested before. And like I said, I kept telling Samantha to just go along and cooperate. As bad as police can get, I still had faith we'd make out better not fighting him, whether he was good or not. But you see what happened. It didn't matter." Watkins: "Miss Jackson, did Officer Bradock tell you why he was taking you alone into a private room?" Kamala: "No, because it would have outed his racism. He was really offended seeing not only a gay couple, but a biracial gay couple who were teens on top of that. He was looking to hurt us." Stern: "Objection. This is way into the zone of conjecture and opinion." Kamala: "No, it isn't. I know the double standard racists have, which they'll never spell out." Carmichael bangs her gavel at stopping the talk. Carmichael, with slight anger: "Please, this is a court of law." If you cannot contain yourselves, then I will dismiss the case out of hand. Young lady, I brought this to your attention already a few times. There is a correct way and an incorrect way to testify, just as in school, speaking out of turn is a violation that will affect your grades. This is not a gab session. A man is accused of a serious crime that will greatly impact his future, as well as his family's. The legal system that exists to protect you also demands that you follow a certain protocol by offering only what you know as fact. Kamala interrupting. Well, racism is a fact, which I know Carmichael banging gavel hard. Excuse me, please don't interrupt. If you want to get anywhere with your crusade for racial justice, as well as with this case you brought, you need to be quiet and understand the rules of the court. It may be true that the mistreatment you claim happened was due to racism and sexism, but we don't try motives in court. All that's relevant is facts and actions, and sometimes words stated, things upon which a charge can be legally placed. Even if your innate wisdom tells you what the motive was for what occurred, please stick to only what you heard, saw, or experienced concretely, that is, physically. Okay? Is that clear? Kamala. Yes, Your Honor. Carmichael. And once the objection is sustained by the court, you definitely remain silent until you are asked the next question. Now, Luke, please be careful how you question your witnesses and avoid any questioning that will open up answers that are speculative or conjectural. That goes for both counsels. Please proceed. Stern, remaining seated, off record. Thank you, Your Honor. Watkins. If you don't mind, Ms. Jackson, let's hear your account of what exactly happened from the moment you were taken into the room by Officer Bradock to the moment you were let go. Kamala. Well, this was when they had patted us down. Then he told his partner to take our belongings, and he just grabbed us both. Fade out. I know you people are probably just like really mad at me for ending it there, but based on actually it went into 23 pages, so it's already too long. Next time we will, next time you'll get to see how this courtroom proceeding continues. So, thank you to all of the people on TikTok who joined me for the live, and thank you to anyone who's listening to this anywhere, anytime through the Spotify podcast. Take care. Have a great day. Bye.